Welcome, Hudson Valley. This is Conor Walsh, host of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. This week on In Touch, we speak with Dora Celestino and Mike Ballas from the Council on Addiction Prevention and Education, CAPE for short. We talk about their latest New York State Opioid Response Grant and how they are using this recognition to benefit their youth intervention programs. We invite you to join us and listen to a previously recorded conversation between Dora, Mike, and myself here on In Touch. Because of the awesome success of In Touch over the last year, we are expanding. We are launching a new spin-off series under the In Touch umbrella called Townsquare Spotlights. These spotlights focus on amazing celebrities and leaders passing through the Hudson Valley who are making an impact in pop culture. You can check out our latest spotlights with Golden Globe-nominated actress Mel Harris, musician and creator of the Lifted Project documentary John Burton, and political activist, philanthropist, and father to musician Lin-Manuel Miranda, Louise A. Miranda Jr., wherever you enjoy In Touch. Hello, Hudson Valley. You're listening to another episode of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We got a great episode for you guys today, and this one is near and dear to my heart, especially because this organization was one of the first organizations that I had as an interview for In Touch when I first started. New people, of course, new faces, and I love getting to go back to familiar organizations. This is really fun for me. With us, we have members of the Council on Addiction, Prevention, and Education, CAPE for short. We have Dora Celestino and Mike Ballas. Guys, how are you?
Doing well.
We are wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I'm really happy to have you guys in here. And as I said, this is kind of like full circle for me since I had a representative with CAPE come through when I first started this now. And here we are about 2 years later, a couple awards later, and here we are. So really happy to have you guys. Now, of course, for those who may not be familiar with CAPE or they didn't check out the previous episode or anything along those lines, could you guys give us a brief overview on what CAPE is for somebody who's uninitiated with you guys?
Sure. Really briefly, I can let you know that we have several services, what we provide for substance use. We are a prevention and recovery agency, so we have prevention counselors in the schools. We have a prevention field educator, which is Dora, who's here with me. We have a recovery program with recovery coaches, and we provide a lot of different efforts in the community to prevent substance use or to reduce the onset of substance use. In addition, can support families and community members in that task. We also, have other services, but we're growing by the day. So We are in Wappingers Falls. We actually share the building with the DMV, and we're on Marshall Road, 31 Marshall Road, and we are Suite 3G.
Good to know. Definitely familiar with that area with the DMV, of course. I'd much rather visit you guys and say hello again rather than having to go to the DMV and wait forever. Maybe that's something that people can do the next time that they're over there. They're waiting in line for the DMV because you know how long that takes.
Sure.
Get a little information from you guys.
Absolutely.
But no, I think that's great, and I'm loving to hear all the different programs that you guys have, and we can definitely dive into that a little bit further. But the main thing that we're here to talk about today is that you guys were just awarded a big grant. I have here, it was from New York State Opioid Response Grant, and this sounds so impressive. You guys would do a much better job explaining it than me. What exactly is this grant, and how is this going to be helping with CAPE?
So, yes, CAPE is very proud that we were awarded a second-year state opioid response grant, and that's from New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports, which is OASIS. This funding will allow CAPE to expand its initiatives to prevent and reduce youth substance use. So we want to get into schools. We want to work with schools on enhancing their substance use policy. We have a lot of different programs that we would like to implement into schools. One, primarily, is Teen Intervene, which is an alternative to suspension.
So what does that mean then with alternative to suspension? That keeps the kids in schools a bit longer then and make sure that they're not like missing out on these opportunities?
So just to answer, the idea is when individuals get caught either using or having substances on them in school, primarily they get out of school suspension. Yeah. What we know from the evidence shows that that really doesn't do anything. In fact, it actually encourages the behavior to continue, because what they do is they go home and they end up doing the same thing that got them in trouble in the first place. So we're trying to implement something in place of that. So rather than send them home where they're going to continue that and potentially further that issue, we offer something that is cognitive behavioral therapy along with motivational interviewing, which is Teen Intervene, and really try to get to the root of the behavior and try and work and collaborate with the individual student on how to address that and change that behavior and then move forward and hopefully stop using or at least reduce the use that they're already doing.
Wow, that really is impressive. One thing that I remember when I was in high school, I went to FDR and we had a program where people who had these behavioral issues, for the most part, they did stay in school. There was a program and they met with a couple of teachers who I got to meet personally working with a couple of clubs I was in. So I didn't know them from that side, but I saw the good that they were doing. Mm-hmm. And this reminds me of what those teachers were doing, but on steroids now. It sounds like you guys are able to offer a lot, and it just goes to show what can be done when you have the resources.
Sure.
As I said, you guys are working on this teen response. What else is this grant working towards, and what's the nitty-gritty that keeps going into this? Because obviously we want to be able to teach and help the youth out with this issue.
Sure. So I think the most important piece is that, a lot of times the school districts themselves are kind of left out on an island on how to address these types of issues. Their response is to, behaviorally, I guess, punish, so to speak. I mean, I know that's a strong term, but,
it's true,
it's disciplinary, right? And, really for lack of knowing what else to do. So we want to be able to collaborate with the schools and really talk to the administrators and think about ways to really help and assist and enhance their policies so that they don't have to come off as demeaning or punishing, that they can actually do something that really will assist in changing the behavior. Because the reality is that, if we're just going to continue to punish it, it's not really going to change. I mean, in fact, what we see is that people who are punished and they continue the behavior, it gets worse and worse and worse. And those times they end up dropping out of school or something along those lines, right? So what we really want to do is we want to see a change. We want to see ourselves as a community, as a school, as an agency, to really be able to embrace our youth and really offer the supports that we can to change that behavior so that they don't have to go down that path, which is going to lead to a lot of dead ends, right? Things that really aren't going to be helpful in their life. So this grant really does offer us the ability to utilize our resources in the agency to really help with the school districts, which ultimately supports the youth, right? And that's really what our driving purpose is.
It really has been seen where just about almost anything, whether it's drug related, whether it's behavioral related, whatever it is, if you keep punishing something, it's just going to make the person angrier, and then they want to kind of revolt against it or whatever. Right. But understanding and having those conversations. It's one thing to tell somebody no, but it's another thing to explain why and get to the root of what they're feeling.
Absolutely.
So no, I think that's incredible. So when it comes to the work that you're already doing with the youth, what does it look like when it comes to these trainings to benefit teachers, community leaders, and how does it trickle down? What does it currently look like?
Mm-hmm. What it currently looks like, and the good thing about it is that Teen Intervene, what we discussed, it's already happening in some of the school districts because of the fact, as I mentioned earlier, we have school counselors in the schools, right? Not all of them.
That's from you guys.
Correct.
Wow, that's cool.
So we have many school counselors in the schools that are helping with this prevention, right? Prevention programming and working with mental health and things like that. Teen Intervene is a service that's already being implemented there through them, and what we see is when it's utilized, it really helps, one, the student to feel heard. Mm-hmm. When a student feels heard and they feel like what they have to say means something, they feel respected. In turn, what do we naturally do? We share that respect towards others. We treat others the same way. And when we feel heard, we're much more positive, right? So how does that affect everyone? It affects everyone because we feel it, right? A teacher is talked to much differently, right? They don't get blown off the way that they would get blown off if you're telling them, hey, you're doing something wrong. Kids usually going to walk away and say, whatever, I don't want to hear from you, right? But now it's changing behavior. It brings people back in together, and it allows them to be more interactive and engaged in what they're supposed to be while they're in school, right? Which is education. It just has a positive effect all around, so everyone is affected by the behavior. It really is that simple, but complex at the same time, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You're able to help one, you're able to help everybody out in this case. I think that's incredible. Now, Dora, if I'm just making sure I got your title here correct, you're one of the community prevention managers. So I'm sure that you probably work with a lot of these teens and a lot of these people, individuals, on a very intimate and personal level. Do you mind telling us what some of those connections and some of those interactions are like and what that series of growth can look like?
Yeah. So I'm a community prevention educator with CAPE.
Gotcha.
And
Thank you.
To piggyback off of what Mike said, having students who are in trouble for substance use, we don't want to remove them from school. The Federal Department of Education recommends schools remove students from the classroom as a last resort. So connecting with the students, the alternative consequences demonstrate that violations are taken seriously, but they keep the students connected to school. Again, the primary goal of the substance use policy is to prevent substance use and keep young people healthy and successful and connected to schools. So it's building relationships with them. You know, there's no shame, there's no blaming, there's no guilt. It's just learning and having open, honest conversations.
I think that's incredible. I'm really happy to hear that. Now, I went to high school in the 2010s, so it's been a sec. We're in a different world now, post-pandemic. A lot of things have changed. A lot of things have happened when it comes to behavioral. I also worked in summer camps for a while, and to see the growth get stinted during that time where everybody was stuck inside, they weren't able to interact the way that they would used to. And how does that look in schools now, and how do you think that has affected the overall landscape of having to deal with kids when it comes to prevention and behavioral issues?
I would just say that I think that, you hit it on the head, right? The pandemic definitely did damage. I think we haven't really even seen the beginning of what that looks like. And I hate to say it, but I really, truly believe that. When you take away that connection, I mean, just think about social skills. We were already getting to the point where everybody was reliant on their phone, still are, right? And buried in their phone, I mean, kids were texting each other while they're in the same room, right? That's only further exacerbated, right? Because when you don't have that contact, you're not even physically in the same space because of the pandemic. Think about how that affects the mental health, how that affects everything long term, right? And, when you think about it from the substance use standpoint as well, it's like a lot of times when people, I've worked in treatment in my past, right? And a lot of times the answer was to fit in. To fit in, to feel comfortable, to loosen up, all these things that you hear, right? And think about how that is exacerbated as well. Because now when you don't have those social skills and you feel like you're not connected, it gives you an excuse to use something to become connected or at least feel as though you're connected, right? Obviously, we know that that's a mirage, right? That's not necessarily true, but the feeling is there, when you're intoxicated, you're on something, you definitely feel differently in the moment, and it can loosen you up for that moment, right? We don't think about the long-term problems that can come along with it. So that is a major issue. And just to track back a little bit, as far as one of the question that you had asked before is like, the effect of an individual when we're working with them specifically, right? Is like when you see a youth, right, a teen, however we want to call it, right, in a room and we're having a session, right? We're talking about working with motivational interviewing. So motivational interviewing, for those who don't know, right, it's really working with an individual and allowing them to come to the solution through their own thought while guiding them, right? Guiding them to that solution. But it's more powerful in the sense that when they feel like they've come up with that, they feel empowered because they've made that decision, right? And so bringing in all these different factors, whether it's family, whether it's environment, whether it's how you feel on the inside, whether you're dealing with some sort of mental health disorder in combination, right? A lot of times when they come to that realization, they want to work through it and say, really, I don't really want to do that. Yeah. Like, I don't want this to be my solution. And help them, guide them towards that positive solution in place of that. And we've seen it happen through these sessions, right? Through the Teen Intervene. That's a major piece of it, because with Teen Intervene, it's anywhere between 2 and 5 sessions that you meet with a teen. And the last one potentially with a parent, which was ideal, because to get the family on board is always great, right? But even when that can't occur, just having that time to really talk about things and have them recognize some of these things that are going on, whether they're triggers, what it is that's causing you to feel that way, and come to that realization of like, I do want to change this. Like, I don't like the direction that I'm going in. A lot of times you don't think about that when you're a teen, right?
When
You're not thinking about the outcome, what's going to happen 5 years down the road. You're thinking about, I want to have fun right now, and I get it, right? But when you bring the reality of things, and not in like a scare tactic way, but in a way that they can see it, because they have examples of that now. I mean, we're in Dutchess County, where we're the second highest overdose rate in New York State, okay? They see it. They know.
They have friends, they have family members. They
Correct.
have seen the ugly side of it.
Absolutely.
I think every student we talk to, everybody knows somebody who has been affected by substance use disorder.
Right.
And one of the things that I got to say, when, growing up, I had the DARE program, and we were always told about, it's like, say no to drugs. You had people who came up to us and be like, hey, you want to have drugs, kids? That was never the reality I saw. Mm-hmm. The reality that I always saw was it was always based on some kind of isolation and some form of wanting to fit in. Mm-hmm. It's just mainly that fact of you're looking for a sense of belonging, as you mentioned already. And however that might be, it could be trying to fit in with your friends or try to fit in with yourself and try to drown out some of the demons that you don't understand. And especially as a teen, there's so much you don't understand and so much is changing. So it's amazing that you have this program. And there's another one that I want to talk about in a second. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues series. We're speaking with members of CAPE, Council for Addiction Prevention and Education. We got Dora and Mike with us. We've been talking about the SOAR grant that they've gotten recently and how it's helping teens in Dutchess County kind of stay away from those who are in addiction and those who need that help to stay away from it in the first place. There's another awesome thing that we were talking about before we got on the mic. You have these youth clubhouses opening up in May. I think that's fantastic. Can you go into what those clubhouses are and what that means for your programs?
Right. So it's one youth clubhouse.
One youth clubhouse, okay.
We'll keep it to that. Maybe in the future it would be more than one. I really hope that becomes the case. But we were, lucky enough. We had the opportunity, made a grant proposal to a private foundation, which they're very humble and they usually don't want to be named, but they granted us with some funding to be able to open up a youth clubhouse right next door to where our office is. So it's in the same location by the DMV, which is great. So if you have some teenagers with you and you're at the DMV, feel free to let them stop on by so they don't have to sit in there online with you. But we're gonna have programming in there, so there'll be evidence-based programming, but fun stuff so that kids can learn, but at the same time have fun, right? There's also gonna be things like ping pong table. Nice. We're gonna have video games, a PS5, right? We're gonna have these different things there, furniture, things for people to enjoy, kids to have a good time, right? Also, like educational, we're going to do like tutoring services. We're collaborating with one of the local banks that's going to provide financial wellness classes for the students as well to attend. And, we're going to implement a lot of different programming there. We'll also have our recovery coaches there to kind of help and assist so that if we have any youth that are there that are experiencing issues with substances, that they have somebody to talk to. We will be doing the Teen Intervene there as well, So there's a lot of different things that are happening there. And, just to kind of put a little bit of a plug in for, anybody who is, willing to help or wants to help, we are absolutely taking any kind of donations of like furniture, books, things like that. Or if anybody wants to help by like a financial donation, of course, we are a 501c3, so we are a not-for-profit. We can provide a letter stating that things were given. A lot of times that's helpful for tax returns and such. We just got past that season, right?
We don't need that right now. I'm still getting over it.
Yeah, tell me about it. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a great opportunity, and on top of that, what I also want to say is that if there's anybody who has passion for working with kids, and has understanding of substance use, mental health, and they want to donate something that's more valuable than any object and their time to be able to come in and help, we absolutely are open for that as well. So it'd be a great opportunity.
I really love that. I had another guest on recently. We had Warwick Cares talking about mental health and suicide prevention. And one of the things that they were talking about was there's not a lot of programs for sobriety, like for sober interaction. And having this safe space like this where people can come together, they can play ping pong, they can play video games, they can read, they can talk to these people. This is such a great resource. And since we were talking about time, I'm just curious about this facet. Let's say there's a teenager who wants to help, who wants to support, who wants to volunteer as well, who they might have a family member who dealt with this and now they want to try to right those wrongs or they want to try to help out. Is there a way for teenagers and the youth and the kids in school to be a leader in these opportunities?
Absolutely. So the idea is that this isn't just designated for kids who have concerns with substances or mental health. This is open to the entire county for any teenager ages 12 to 18.
That's awesome.
To be able to come. They can be a part of. We are going to put together almost like a youth leadership within the clubhouse so that they can nominate each other for different positions and help make decisions as to how this is being run. It's not going to be just the adults telling the kids what to do. It's going to be a collaborative effort. So obviously we're making healthy decisions so we're not allowing them to just run wild, of course, as I would probably have wanted to do when I was a teen. But, definitely have a say in what happens and really make sure that we're meeting them where they are, which is the ultimate social work way of doing things, and really help the community grow so that hopefully we can, that number we talked about earlier, the overdose rate, hopefully we can eliminate that or at least lower it significantly moving forward so that the youth today don't turn into, the same issues that we have at this point.
Break those generational habits and really put this behind us. I think that's fantastic. So if anybody wants to get involved when it comes to the Teen Intervene, the Youth Clubhouse, where can they go? Is there information on your website where they can find more and get involved, register, anything along those lines?
Yes, no, absolutely. So they can definitely go onto the website at capedc.org. Definitely, there's a lot of different things that are on there. We have a lot of different events that come up. It's definitely the best place to get the most up-to-date information about us. We also, you want to give them the email address that they can also send information to as well.
So you can also call 845-765-8301, or you can go to D. Celestino at capedc.org.
Oh, that's terrific. And of course, all that links and information will be in the description of this episode. So everything will be together. You don't have to go hunting for it. We make sure that we have it all together for you guys. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We're speaking with members of CAPE, Council for Addiction Prevention and Education. We got Dora and Mike with us today talking about the SOAR grant that's helping out with Teen Intervene, the Youth Clubhouse, and so much more happening here in Dutchess County. And before we wrap up this episode, I want to end things on a very bright and celebratory note. You guys are having your 37th annual gala real soon. That's going to be happening, I believe, next month. That's amazing. 37 years of having this gala and just being a part of the community and helping things out. Can you tell us about what this gala looks like and what we're celebrating here?
Sure. So it's an anniversary gala, and, it's on June 3rd. So it's a Monday evening, and we are having it at the DoubleTree in
nice.
Poughkeepsie. So we will, it's going to be a good event. We're asking for sponsorships. So that's something that you can go to our page to kind of look into that. And we are pre-selling tickets in advance for that. Basically, all the funding that we receive, any donations we receive, tickets, all the stuff, after everything that we're paying for to have a good time there, is all going to further our cause, our mission, which is really to help youth and to, prevent substance use in youth and further our goals. At the event, we're going to have some awards that are given. I will put a plug in for our keynote speaker, which is Brendan Novak. Individuals may know him a little better. He's a skateboarder, but also is a part of Jackass, the show.
Yes.
So he will be our keynote speaker. So there will be a little bit of Q&A afterwards, but he has an amazing story. He's been in recovery, and he's a fantastic individual. So we look forward to having him there. And, there's just a lot of opportunities opportunity to be a part of, to make a difference. And, it's an anniversary of what we do. It's an anniversary of our mission as an agency, and really to increase prevention and recovery in the community, right? So our tagline now is where prevention and recovery create hope for our future, right? And so that's,
yes.
We updated it recently because, that's what we do. That's what's important, right? And to create that hope so that, we don't have to see the youth go through the same things that this generation of adults is going through, right? It's really important. And, I think there's a lot of people that are on board, and sometimes they just don't even know how to get on board and be a part of, and this would be a great opportunity for them.
I think that's a great way. This is a celebration of everything that you guys have been putting together. This is a wonderful way to get the community to understand what's going on. And when you said Brendan Novak, I'm like, I had pictures in my head. It was like, MTV? Yeah. And when you said, it's like, okay.
That's him.
But no, that's fantastic. And I think this is going to be a great way. Again, you guys can check things out on the Townsquare website to be able to see all that, understand what's going on, and stay up to date. Dora and Mike, I really appreciate you guys so much. Before we wrap up, do either one of you guys have any last little nugget for our In Touch listening audience?
We would love it if you would follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We're at capedc.org. Yeah, please like, share, and follow.
Mm-hmm. Terrific.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, thank you everybody who is participating, and anything that anybody is doing to try and address the issues that we have in this county. Kudos to everyone. I commend everybody that's doing that hard work. And, if you want to join us, listen, we're always looking for more to join the pack. So thank you.
And of course, best way to get involved is to, first of all, be in touch in the first place. Mm-hmm. Mike, Dora, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to all the celebrations you guys got coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been this week's edition of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We want to give a big thank you to Dora and Mike. For more information on CAPE, visit capedc.org. You can also call 845-765-8301. Of course, all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. I've been your host, Conor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time.